You're listening to WeDeepen Media.
Hey y'all, I have some exciting news to share. The WeDeepen Podcast Network has expanded to include 2 new shows. First, Political Hope Podcast by Indy Reishi explores the lives, events, and minds pivotal for human evolution. Not always overtly political, Political Hope is intended to empower you to recognize your inherent voice and ability to enact progress in your local and global communities. Political Hope empowers action and the change you wish to see in the world. Second is the Elevate to Legendary podcast by Dr. Nikki. It's a journey to activate your fullest self-expression. Dr. Nikki interviews leaders who have transcended perceived limitations in order to make meaningful impact. Guests share their stories to teach you how to optimize your body, brain, and spiritual connection to manifest a truly fantastic life. Search for Political Hope and Elevate to Legendary in your podcast app, or go to WeDeepen.com/podcasts to listen to the new shows. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Deepen with Christina. I'm your host, Christina Weber, founder of WeDeepen, WeDeepen.com. Go check out the calendar if you haven't lately. There's all types of social and transformational experiences that are designed to help you have more meaningful, loving relationships, which is going to take us straight into today's conversation. I'm with my friend, Christopher Leyva. He is the lead singer of Falling Doves. This band has been touring for 6-7 years internationally. He is one of the most, I'm going to say angelic, because there is like this angel quality of you, and that can even, I guess, go hand in hand with having a band name, Falling Doves. But him and I met less than a year ago when our mutual friend passed away, Vanessa. And Vanessa was a regular at WeDeepen Experience. She was an instrumental part of the community. And the reason I say instrumental is because Vanessa showed up. And she was so curious about love. She was just one of those people that when she was in the room, you felt you were in the right room. People wanted to be around her. She was captivating, gorgeous. And Christopher and I got this call, back in April of 2021, and it was that devastating moments like, is this real? This doesn't seem real. So we're going to get into that because her passing is it's a tragic love story. And is death tragic? We could potentially even go there as well. But Chris, I'm so blessed to be in this conversation. Him and I are sitting overlooking Los Angeles. We're looking down to the lights. It's nighttime. He picked me up. We went on an adventure. This is our first podcast we're recording together. And in meeting him, I have flowers and a Falling Doves T-shirts and all types of little goodies. It was like the sweetest gesture of
Love and friendship.
Of welcoming somebody into your presence. Like there's an invitation of you that's always like inviting me into your presence. So it warms my heart to be able to have this type of connection with you because we have this shared experience that is a growth, expansion-oriented experience. It's an experience that makes you see life in a whole different way. So thank you for being here with me and for being willing to dive into love, death, and kind of the being and point of our existence.
I see it as the continuation of love is the way that I like to see that situation there with our friend. So I see me and you like this, you're on one side. Our friend was kind of like the bridge between it, you know what I mean? Now that she's not there, but I think we both had a choice to kind of cross the bridge on either end of it and continue, in her memory to continue harvesting, I think, the garden that she placed, I think, in both of our hearts, to continue growing and harvesting, I think. And I think that that's the theme of at least our relationship through her.
You say that word, harvesting, and that's an interesting word to dive a little deep into harvesting for me.
Harvesting is with every relationship you have in life, whether it's friends or even business associates, you always got to maintain, I come from a family of farmers and country people and mountain people. So I think with us, you learn to have a relationship with nature. And one of the things that you learn to do is to associate things in your life with animals, nature, and its relationship with each other. And I think like with anything, I think to be part of people's lives, I think it's important to always, you have to kind of treat people like plants and flowers and always remember to harvest them with water. And water is a metaphor for your presence, love, and just looking after them. I think like a garden, you want to see it grow to eventually end up a tree, to continue growing. And hence, our friend Vanessa, and that's what she did. She grew this beautiful garden of friends. So when she was no longer there, we would still be able to sit under the shade of the beautiful garden she created. And therefore, if willing to, connect with other like-minded people that she was able to put together, which in some weird way or another, she was always trying to connect as many dots as she could within each other's circles. So I feel like at some point, no matter what, my path was going to cross with Christina. Through her or through one of those events, because I remember that she invited me about twice to these events that Christina does. And when she showed me the pictures and she tried to explain it to me, I was like, oh, I don't know. It sounds so intense, But I mean, she was a great believer in any friend that she had. She was the biggest cheerleader. It's sad she never got the chance to come and see me play, and that's mostly my fault for not pushing her or harassing her to come to a show. But I just, I get so caught up into whatever I'm doing that I forget to text people to come to the shows. But I know she would have been there at every show if I would have reached out.
As we push start on this podcast, it happened rather quickly. We just said, let's go, let's start recording. And I want to take a moment to invite Vanessa's energy into this conversation with us, because we are going to share her story. And it's vulnerable to speak someone else's story into an existence, because we weren't there. We weren't there the day that she passed, and there's a lot of questions still that remain around her passing. And within those questions, we've also grounded into the harvesting of this new friendship and these multiple friendships. And we've also gotten to use what we do know as a guiding light into our existence, into it's one of those, when somebody passes, a loved one passes in your life, it's an opportunity for growth, because we really don't know what happens on the other side. We can, there's theories and there's such, and I have been so blessed this lifetime. I've and it's interesting to say I've been blessed this lifetime because I've lost a lot of people, and in the losing of them, I also feel as though sometimes, most of the time, my connection with them gets even stronger, because then they always become there. They're always there with me. Whereas when we're operating around in these physical bodies, we could feel each other through social media, and when someone calls and picks up the phone and it's like, oh, I can't be there in presence, but like I'll be there in spirit. It's true now. Your angels, those who have passed you, they always have the opportunity to be with you in spirit. And I definitely for sure feel her. So just a moment to bring her into this space. I'm going to pause for like 3 seconds. Vanessa. So Vanessa passed away in April of 2021. And as I mentioned, it's vulnerable to share her story because there's other people that may listen, and I don't want to offend anyone in sharing anyone else's story. Both Christopher and I were saying that before we push record it. And Vanessa loved love. She craved her partner. Her and I bonded over that. She was a regular at dating and meditating. She came to talk nerdy to me often. I even have this recording of her at Talk Nerdy to me when Dr. Ramani, who's one of the leading experts of narcissism, gave a profound talk on this subject. And she was so curious and her heart was so open. A funny even thing, before she passed, we played Truth or Dare. And she's the only woman that I ever have made out with. And I had left Los Angeles during COVID in 2022. And that was around this last moment that Vanessa and I played Truth or Dare. And after I left, I started seeing on Instagram this beautiful relationship unfolded. She was glowing and happy, and there was this handsome man appearing in all of her pictures. And we had exchanged some messages back and forth, like, oh my God, I'm so happy for you. I'm so this is so fun. And then there was a moment in April, I had my birthday, and I had posted some stories on Facebook, on Instagram, and she replied to them. I hadn't heard from her in some time, and she replied to them and wished me a happy birthday, asked me where I was learning crypto, and then asked me for my address. I responded with a voice text congratulating her. She had just gotten married, and her and this man that appeared on her Instagram, like I said, had met in about September of 8 months before, and they had just married, and about 2-3 weeks after their marriage, he had walked in. He said he walked into the house, and Vanessa was hanging in the closet. This was the same day that Vanessa had messaged me. So 2 days after that, when I had gotten a call from a best friend of hers to share the news of Vanessa's passing, it was a little bit like, what the fuck? Like, I was just talking to her, and this can't be real. It didn't make absolutely any sense. What was it like for you, Christopher, to get that call about Vanessa?
It was strange because I'd been calling her for a bit. And when she didn't reply, it just was weird because she'd go through her spaces and I go, well, she's probably on a trip or in some mountain hiking something or something like that, which was normal for her to do. But I recall I was sitting around a fireplace in San Francisco, rooftop fireplace in somebody's house, It was Oakland, actually. And I was sitting there, and I just sat there meditating like you do, watching the fire. You know, you sit there. And I remember writing, I think, a message on her page. And somebody had posted something. And I, right off the bat, got this heavy gut feeling that something just was not right. And I just remember my friend goes, "What's going on?" I go, "I don't know, man. I got this horrible feeling that I think like something happened to a good friend of mine." And I go, "I don't know. I don't want to jump to any conclusions or anything." And I just sat there, you know, just thinking about different memories, different things. And yeah, like you said, you know, you go back to remembering, you know, and every memory we have of this human being, of this soul, this spirit, was always just like a cozy blanket of love, you know, just this beautiful human being that loved you with every inch of her soul. You felt like you were the only person that mattered in that place right there when she was with you or talking to you. It was very special. And so, you know, you get all these memories triggering all these thoughts. And I was like, well, maybe it's nothing, you know. And then I get, I think, a message from you, right? It wasn't like a text or a messenger or something like that. And then I think we finally talked.
Oh, you had put a heart on her Facebook page. So you were still in the unknown of what is going on, and you put a heart on her Facebook page, and we had just started a WhatsApp group for her.
But nobody had messaged nothing. Nobody had put anything on that Facebook. But the thing about it is that since nobody had posted anything on there, really, I was like, okay, something's off and something's not right. And that's what I just recall. I mean, going back and thinking, it's just, I was like, something is just not really sitting right. But you also can't post things on this thing because then you don't know what is or what isn't. For all I knew, she could have been in the hospital or something, you know. But I'm going to be sincere with you. My first thought that came to mind, it's like, oh, I feel like she got with another like abusive partner or something like that. That was my first instinct. You know, they always say to trust what you feel is in your stomach right off the bat because they're messages. You know, and that was my first instinct. And then little by little things started kind of happening, if you remember. And more things started coming out. And I just remember feeling kind of nauseous and sick. Because we don't know, you know, who am I to judge this man that was with her? I don't know any of the details. But at that point, I don't know what to think. You know, that's where I was at.
So, backtracking again, the call was Vanessa was found hanging in her closet by her new husband 3 weeks after they were married. And when that story reached her friends, there was a big, like, whoa, this does not sound like Vanessa. She would never hang herself. Something's wrong. Foul play. Universe is really interesting. There's definitely something happening there for sure. There's no way there's not a God, because that Vanessa brought me in that one day. She knew what she was doing. She knew that I have the power to network the people together there's a different unique energy that I am able to harness and bring. In those moments, it took me like, I sort of went into like, to being the ear for those who were in deep mourning, and to be able to take action into connecting the dots and the stories. And so within that foul play, I collected the data and I sent the one of the investigators on the case, I guess it was converting to, is there a case here, and to say, hey, there's something wrong, and compile the stories up. And the stories, I mean, of the red flags that were seen by her closest friends at the time that this relationship was developing. And there was some, there was also, during that period of time, there was stories of uncooperation on his behalf. And you're just processing, like, what is this? What is this? What is this? And then 5 days later, he shot himself. And that was the closure. That was, we could almost rest, because what was there more for us to do? And as we can all sit and create theories. I have my own theory. I don't know what is true. What feels true for me is that there was some type of strange sexual experience, that she was accidentally suffocated. I don't think this man meant to kill her, and then hung her to cover that up.
That seems about what's right. My friend Beck up in, she's in Wilmington now, but he had actually spoken to her a few times, and the story changed every time she talked to him. Mind you, with the stress, anxiety, and everything that goes with anything bad that happens, things will kind of distort. Just like when you were asking me, do you remember where you were, when this happened? I'm like, okay, I'm certain this was here. Things can be a little out of place from a thing here or there. But I feel like with this situation, on my personal, instinct, like I said to you, the first thing that came to trigger me was like, oh man, she got another one of these dudes. That's what I felt. And I thought maybe he hurt her, and that's what I thought happened. Death wasn't that far into the picture until we spoke. And that, I don't know. Even then, it just still didn't sit right on my end. I was like, well, okay, what do we know about her? Yeah, everybody in relationships can adopt each other's behaviors with lifestyle stuff, drinking, not drinking, partying, not partying, drug taking, positive and negative, and I feel, the one thing about her is that she was not one of these people to ever take down any type of challenge, because she always wanted to do whatever you could do, she could do it too. That's the whole motive of her whole life. So, when you're dealing with like a 350-pound Goliath of a man, and then you got a fairy-like woman that's what, like 4'2"?
She's taller than 4'2". She's like 5'2".
She was always a tiny little thing to me, but that's the comparison, and the type of activity. So a drink on a man like that and a drink on a girl like that, you can't compare those type of things. And so I feel like she just loved her partner, and she just, hope he's not going to be drunk off of a bottle, but she on a bottle is going to almost get alcohol poisoning, because the thing about her, she was very clean with her diet and living. She was always working hard, taking vitamins. I remember that. And she'd party here and there. But I think she literally went into that rock and roll lifestyle with this guy. Wasn't really, he looks more like an attorney. He looks like Vince Vaughn, actually. Like a big Vince Vaughn, And, we're left there to reflect on the things that we knew about our friend. And as I looked through her photos on her Facebook and Instagram from over the years, because her Instagram also got changed. The moment that she started dating him, all these pictures disappeared from her past life. And now it was her and his page, which is fine. You're used to that with friends that get married. But on her Facebook, she still had a lot of old photographs. And looking back at those photographs, I remember just many conversations we had, because we spoke a lot. And she was always really good about that. And I just remember seeing just this look of this hungry, this hunger of love, wanting to be loved and searching for love. As you go through her photographs, I would always see that, like this person on a quest for that. That's where I was at with her.
And yeah, let's so that's the heaviness of the story, and we could go into a lot of the red flags that are seen, which were isolation, more of moving her to another location, separating from friends, the beginning to neglect the practices in your life that once gave you a sense of relief and healing, like meditation and spirituality. And there was a withdrawal from those activities in Vanessa. And then the taking on to these darkness of the drinking and the pill popping, that's kind of, and that behavior, or that ability to kind of adapt to a partner, even the darkness of the partner, is really inside of that a deep longing for love. And so I think, when I look at the lessons here and why I wanted to share this story on the podcast is because it highlights so much of the reason why we need spaces to be with in community and learning the relational skills together and going through these containers of transformation, like the transformational experiences, because it allows you to see people in various ways of being, seeing how people connect with other human beings. And then you have a tribe, a community around you that is able to support your relationship, that's able to reflect back to you when things don't look right, when they see that you're moving into these states of darkness. And we can be all, we want to be all rainbows and butterflies and sunshine. And rainbows and butterflies and sunshine are actually like really sought after. People want that attention. And vampires, there are beings that are essentially look at that sort of energetic supply. The term for, narcissism, personality disorder, is, they tend to say they're vampires. They're sucking the life out of you, and he sucked the life out of her. So us as being aware of the signs, and then even taking into kind of even processing too of each soul's individual journey. Mm-hmm. Now, when I felt in Vanessa's passing, like her also coming to me and being like, it's okay, because in his passing too, all these, he was a really hurt soul underneath all these interactions and his way of being. Like, there was something so hurt, and in the death of the body, of the ego, of the soul, and this is what I choose to believe. Yeah. Everyone can take on their own beliefs, like, what do you choose to believe? And this is what I choose to believe based upon my life experiences, that as the soul moves over, all those like negative qualities of a human being are all released. Like, we are all love. And even it's all love. And I could feel her saying to me, I'm okay. This is like, there was some like energy transmitted and shifted through the exchange of what they had together, even despite how tragic it is. And so the calling like up to each and every single one of us to put an emphasis on learning love, on practicing love, on talking about love, on supporting your friends, because we all, and maybe it's too much to say we all, but most people I know want love. I've been doing this work for 7 years, and thousands of people come through and they've filled out these surveys of these longings, these desires that they have for love. And when, before we started this podcast, we, just wanted to clarify, like, love, how, of the brain. We did some research and we looked up, like, how does the brain operate on love? And it's this mix of dopamine is released, oxytocin is released. These are, these hormones inside of your system that feel euphoric. Yeah. It's like cocaine, a rush of cocaine, a rush of, like, it's like alcohol. It's like the greatest addiction. Like, we crave that. We live off of that. And being, these two individuals met in the height of COVID. Yeah. And there is this craving for family, and there's much more to life. So to have these conversations, to support, to look around, like, how do I invite more people into, into my home, into conversation, and to support the love they actually want, to make that, like, so oftentimes in, like, our work environments, we don't want to talk about love, and we don't mention about abuse, and we miss to see the signs, which are, they're all around.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing about it, is as you continue through your life journey, you really can attribute just about any situation with anybody that you really deal with, whether it's a lack of either self-love or a longing of something that they're missing. And again, that can also act as something that can attract, whether it's a positive partner or the negative things that really should be seen as things that you need to work on your own self, you know what I mean, for development. Ultimately, that is the whole concept of it as well. And to bring a more positive spin as well with it is the message of how much a person's life can influence other people in ways that you don't even know that can, and how love as well, as cheesy as it sounds, can outlast your life presence on earth and continue resonating with the beings that you've been able to interact. And hopefully there will be a magnetic attraction between all the lives you touched, because the communal concept of your life experience through these different people can unite strangers into common ground to create newfound friendships. I think with Christina, in meeting her, it's strange because I felt at home with her. I felt at point one, like it was just a friend I had never seen. And I think because it's all the resonation of our friend, it also allowed us to have something to cope with and to continue loving, especially if that's the theme of your friendship with someone, which is just love. It still has to have an outlet to be able to continue having that person's presence living through. At the beginning of the podcast, I picked up Christina and she goes, "Oh, well, this is for Vanessa." And I was like, it was, but this is also about you too, because now it's a new story now. It's, yes, the beginning and the point of our relationship was Vanessa, but now this is a new chapter, And that proves, what this podcast is about the power of love and how it can sustain after your existence and creating beautiful, positive experiences to resonate, as they say in a lot of philosophical books. A person dies, what do they say, twice? Once when they die and the last time when someone stops saying their name.
Yeah, she's alive in this podcast right now. I want to ask you about male-female friendship. Because I think that there's a lot of misunderstanding around it. And you and Vanessa had this deep love for each other, this friendship. And did it ever have any type of romantic pull to it, or?
I think there's always a resonance, regardless of, you love your friends, you love them with all the concept. Of course, we've all gone through some time where we kind of pushed the ball a little too far with some friends or not. And she always liked pushing the ball. But not that I would ever not be against it. I think we would joke and flirt about it and joke around about it. I think the invitation was always open there for anything ever. The time never kind of went there. The funny part, now you've learned how Christina and I came together as friends. But the story of how I came together with Vanessa, my friend Beck really wanted me to date her. And she set us up. It's like, oh, you're really going to like her. She's cool and she's wild and all this and all that. I go, who do you think I am, I go, fine, I'll entertain this. And we just started talking on the phone and we just clicked. And we just got along. I mean, I didn't text her. I just called her. And we just joked around. And that was the foundation of our friendship was playfulness. And that playfulness grew to a deep human connection, trust, friendship, and just an overall incredible human being, And sitting here, it's like, after that last thing I was just saying, you continue, the person continues living. But I see, for example, if I close my eyes, I see pieces of Vanessa through Christina's eyes. I see it through her presence. She was a lot more calmer than you are, Christina. Because Christina is, in another way, more like she's just focused and ready, you know what I mean? And with Vanessa, it was more like just like a little pillow of just, I don't know, just chillness. And it's loving, but you still have the same loving energy that she does, and you carry that from point one of meeting you. And that was cozy. That was nice and homey and familiar. So,
I partly ask about this male-female friendship because I'm very aware that, you have your presence, and I said angelic when I first started this podcast because your presence in my life feels so nurturing. It gives me a sense of safety, despite being a currently single woman. And I'm so blessed to have men in my world that I can count on, two hands, that when I meet them and I hang out with them, they activate my feminine. There's the holding the door, there's the gifts, there's this this sense of safety out in the world. And it's sort of rare. And the reason I know it's rare is because, Feminine Weapon Day has recently passed, the 9th one, and you guys may have heard me talk about this before, but the 5th Feminine Weapon Day the theme was for the love of men. And the for the theme, it was an invitation to women to elect men in their life who support them, uplift them, make them happy. And we photographed these men, about 50 of them, and then we overlaid on each image of, a quote by the woman who elected him and why he's so special. And then we displayed these images on large projector screens at a concert at the 5th Annual Feminine Weapon Day. And of course, the universe is so funny sometimes. There's always something bigger happening. And right after that theme came to me, as what unfolded in the public forum was Me Too and Time's Up. So to choose a theme for the love of men, around that time, it was a lot of, hands went up and been like, what the fuck? Like, no, they're not getting it right. Don't celebrate them. And to me, I was like, well, yes, these movements can all exist at the same time. Mm-hmm. Underneath of that love is the strongest weapon of them all. We oftentimes take these situations and we're like, this is where you're doing it wrong. This is where you're doing it wrong. This is where you're doing it wrong. And to be able to like, hey, and here's where you're doing it right. Like, yes, like let's celebrate the beauty of the masculine, the beauty of the feminine. And so during that time period, as I was asking some women, some women would look at me like dumbfounded, like, I don't have any guy. And I'm like, no, nobody. And there was nobody. And I bring this up because you, and the way that you demonstrate a role model, I'll even give it a role model, friendship, is so admirable and deserves to be celebrated. And I hope more people can see it, and that more people take the time, because also friendship requires time. And I see you as, here, as Christopher said, Christina's in her focused energy. Look, she's so focused. Today I've been working all day. I, notice like midday through, oh shit, you got to go brush your teeth. Like you're still in your pajamas. Like, I'm trying to do my best to end this cycle of like, do I want to call it workaholism? But this, just, and also today to report and share with you all, I did get a call from Shark Tank last week, and from their casting to move through the casting process to be featured on the show. And today was the day that I said no. And that was a crazy thing for me to do, to say no, because I've dreamed of going on Shark Tank. People would reflect around me, you should go on Shark Tank, you should go on Shark Tank. And here Shark Tank was. And I said no to it because I realized that my personal relationships are so important. And so, Christopher, even for me to see the way that you picked up food, then spent the time in the car, the 30-minute drive from the restaurant to here to bring the food, to bring me these beautiful flowers and the gifts. It's such an act of love without an agenda.
Well, that's what I was trying to tell you. I think that you have, because you same ballgame. It's like you sit there and you go, well, okay. You choose people in your life that mean or matter to them. And I think for me, also to preserve my friend's memory, I have a responsibility as well to invest in you, just like you invest in making time for me. To invest time to make these relationships grow and just continue harvesting. It's our responsibility. That and the only big reason, like I said, I missed your event, because I wanted to be there to support it.
My event being Feminine Weapon Day. And sometimes when Christopher refers to my events, they're not always my events. I know I've mentioned this before in the podcast. It's like we aggregate lots of other people's events and we represent them. But at the same time, sure, they are my events because I love inviting people to all the WeDeepen experiences.
Well, the event you were participating on, I was playing a show that night, so I couldn't be there. And same thing as what she's doing, concerts for us are, especially with COVID and everything, there are moments of connection. So you finish playing a show and you got 20, 25 people that haven't seen you in a long time. And they look at you like when you go see grandma at the grandma's house and, how you been? And, and they grab you and hold you. And the thing is, you have to give these people that time, so they go home feeling happy and cozy, that they got some good quality and memories for everything that they felt. So, it was a good week, I think, for both of us. And I'm really glad that this worked out and we were able to spend some time together. And then that's it, just continue building in this thing. I mean, it's not, I think, I remember going to the parking lot and got some food and some stuff. And I was like, something's not right here. I was like, why? What are you doing? I go, well, it's not a date. But I still know. And, you hear these little voices in your head. Always be your authentic self and what you would do anyways, because that's who you are. So there I am walking into Whole Foods and instead of just grabbing anything, I like to put intention into anything I pick out, especially flowers for my friends or girlfriends or whoever I'm with or what. And, I kind of handpick things that kind of remind me of that person, whether a bouquet of flowers and I get to put it together. I like to represent how they dress and the colors that I see them have. Sometimes it can be, in some cases, like the aura of the person, So with that concept, that's kind of like it's just an exciting thing for me to do, to show love and appreciation to another person. And for them to you don't need things for people to know that they care about them. When people go, well, I didn't get you anything. I go, oh, don't worry, you got 364 days to figure something out. And that's it, But there's lots of different love languages. And
your love language is definitely gifts. Some of it. For you would be, like acts of service for you and just being present. That's one of your biggest ones that you have with people. Yeah. Yeah, presence. I mean, presence, and we have. I don't want to put a scarcity around it because there's not scarcity, but we only energy and your ability to be present with someone. I mean, I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but the Robin Dunbar number is that the human brain can only handle 150 people. And so as we age, and if you're somebody who loves people, like I love people, then you collect them and you only have just so much time. So those moments of presence and quality time are just that much more like meaningful. Yeah. Well, we've shared now Vanessa's story. How do you feel about having shared her story here?
I think the last time you and I got together and we kind of spoke into this situation, it was very, very deep, very heavy. It was a very emotional time for both of us with that, There was some tears. There was, I think now, looking back at her life, looking back into yourself, reflecting upon her life, upon yourself, the lessons of what she learned. We have limited time here. We have a very, her message is love and love with all you got, no matter what. But we also have a deep responsibility to feel, to experience. And we also have more than that, we have, like I said, the resonance of love that continues after we're gone. On my own personal life, I'm going a little bit deeper. It kind of forced me to be a little bit more calm and chill about picking people that you date and that you kind of go on stuff, and to kind of dig in there and see, okay, so what is this? Why am I choosing this person? And what is it about this person that's making me choose them? And with that, it's just, you know what I mean? It allowed me to have a better judgment upon some of the things that we just jump at. And a friend of mine just literally met this girl. Well, he didn't meet her. I guess he'd known her for a bit. But he just got together with her last month. And now they're married. And now she's pregnant. And they got a dog. And they're moving next door in San Diego. So all that kind of like freaks me out now whenever I hear somebody's getting married, like right now. Because of what I went through with a friend. And you just got to get to know a person. You really have to invest that time and have the good and the bad and have the fights, because the fights are a part of the growth, but they're the part that allows you to get to know each other and see where each other fits in before we make too many plans. That goes for you.
I like that. The slow love. The slow love is like the best type of love. And it's interesting. We had spent some of this podcast of talking a little privately before we turned this on, and I have, that is something in my life that I'm craving, but I like the connection and the intimacy and sexual experiences and the slowness around it and the time that it takes, because love, the deep love is something that builds over time. It doesn't show up instantaneously. And I'm not against, my father and my bonus mother, they were engaged within 5 days of knowing each other. And then they had a 10-year marriage. They have been divorced now for about 2 years. And they're best friends because that love is still there and that was built over years. And
do they still live together or no?
No, they don't live together. But he's hosting a party for her family this weekend. She has, now lives in another state, but she visits often. And they have a nearly 20-year age difference. They have a 17-year age difference. And my dad has said, he's old, she's young. And so they just kind of separate. So it's interesting, one of the things, and I've had a mentor of mine who's a Dr. Sarah Nazaratum. She's a colleague of Esther Perel's, and years ago she said, these relationships that have huge age gaps, like bigger age gaps, they can be beautiful in the beginning of them, but where, and it's not, this isn't, again, good or bad. It's just where there's just a thing when someone is aging and someone's still young, that can create some type of dissonance. And that can be a time for, a separation or a shift in the type of relationship that the two are having at that point. It's not to say don't enjoy them while you're young, but just to say as the aging, it's not somebody who's of your age to do that with.
Yeah, no. It's interesting, man, when you look at everything. And with that context too, you have to also remember there's no guarantee as well of existence or time frame. So you just got to shoot for the best and have a great time while you're here and make the best of everything, and as my grandpa would say in the mountains, just eat the freshest food and eat the freshest meat. That's a little bold, but
eat the freshest food. I like that. Christopher, as we wrap up this podcast, and finally we did it. This is something that we've been wanting to do together for some time. And as we come to a close, what is it that, of all your time spent with Vanessa, that she would desire for you to share in a message of love for the world?
Like I said a minute ago, it would be to just love. Just love. Don't be afraid to... I think the reason why her friendship and my friendship worked out so good is that we didn't have any agenda for each other, but we also didn't have any rules. It was just love. So, if the time came and we were just hanging out or something and something led to something, cool. That would have been cool. But I think having that built relationship and trust and friendship would allow us to travel to different realms, having the security of knowing that the foundation was properly set. That way, no matter which way we went, it could go. So I think no matter whatever you're doing, love freely and invest wisely on how deep you love, but never not shy away from loving. Because, I remember at her service, one of the things that she said that resonated really deeply is that she had no regrets. There was not a person that was not loved entirely by her when she was with you. And you knew that. So there was not one life she touched that was not loved, whether it was a dog or a homeless person in the street or whatever it was, or whoever she came into contact. So with that realm, I try to always leave with that door open of loving without any type of necessarily, because she did question me once. She's like, so why wouldn't you date me? I was like, and she needed to know these answers, and there was really no reason, it was just a matter of me knowing what she wanted, and we were just not on the same page because she wanted to get married right there and have kids and all this and all of that. But that didn't stop us from being friends and still having all the closeness, you know what I mean? And everything was still there. So just love.
Just love. And with love comes boundaries. So I always get to do some work on discovering your boundaries and finding your boundaries and communicating your boundaries, because that is part of the loving experience, and that self-love too that you had mentioned before, and finding the confidence within that when you're feeling shaky. That's okay to go and withdraw and to take some time to feel back into yourself, because these connections that we have with other people, when they go so deep into those areas of so deep and so quickly into those areas of sex and intimacy and love, it's piercing. It's piercing. So we get to honor our own individual hearts and teach the people around us how to treat us, because no one's going to know how to treat you unless you teach them or show them how to treat you.
What a better example by showing it by treating yourself with love and respect.
So true. Choose love. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in to another episode of Deepen with Christina. Definitely go check out that calendar, and if if there's anything in this episode that you think could help somebody else, maybe somebody's struggling and they've lost a loved one, share this with them. And I invite your stories. I invite you to come into the spaces that WeDeepen has provided you, and to feel into the energetics of community. Because that's underneath of what we're all longing. It's, when those moments of when I'm feeling deeply and connect with my loved ones and my purpose, like, yeah, sure, I do. I want the partner as well. And I also feel my heart filled up, like even in this moment of coming out of my house and spending this moment with Christopher, it's like my heart is so full. So you get to do that for yourself as well. So check that calendar out. Come and join us in an up and coming experience. I would love to see you. I would love to meet you. And until next time, go out in the world and deepen. Bye, loves.